The procession started right here, and this sidewalk was filled with people wanting to pay their respects, holding up signs, the American flag, saluting. And as I was walking the sidewalk here as the procession moved past, I noticed one woman in the crowd. Her name is Linda, and I want to bring her in because, and we're going to share a mic here because this is all impromptu, but you stopped me in my tracks because you're out here in your hospital gown and you're saluting. And if you would not mind sharing your story and why it was so important to you.
I'm here due to a domestic violence situation where I was brought here to have surgery because of the wounds that I received. And she told me I couldn't come down, but I felt the need because that could have been because of me. You know, it's all those guys and my kids that I am thankful to be here today. And it just felt like the right thing to do was to thank him, you know. He was protecting someone like me.
Linda, I watched you. You said you weren't even supposed to be down here. I noticed
my nurse was telling me to come back upstairs.
Your gown on, but you stood there at salute the entire time that procession went by, and you watched the officers' faces, the family members' faces. Tell me what about that moment was so emotional for you?
Just how thankful I am that they gave, you know, they lost a father, they lost a dad, a husband, a friend, a brother, a son. For someone like me, you know, in domestic violence situations, a lot of times we go back. I'll never go back now that I saw this because I don't want the man that I was with for 20 years to lose his life. I don't want to lose mine, and I definitely don't want to be someone to give up their life for me.
Thank you for sharing that, Linda. Thank you for sharing very personal, emotional, but powerful story. I'm going to send it back to you.
Natalie, thank you. And it was so powerful to hear Linda say that, you know, this police officer was trying to protect someone like me.
Exactly. And the Tacoma Police Department does say that domestic violence calls are the main reason, their top reason for going out to homes on calls. Domestic violence calls, their #1 reason for going out. You can see the procession is now arriving. Let's go over to Heather Graf, who is observing the procession.
Hi, Lori. Well, the first few motorcycles have begun passing through here on Pacific Avenue, again making their way to the Pierce County Medical Examiner's office. The Honor Guard procession escorting the vehicle that is carrying the body of that fallen officer will pass beneath the extended arm of an aerial ladder belonging to a Tacoma Fire Department fire truck. From that aerial ladder, the American flag is hanging high. Also, here along Pacific Avenue, we are seeing just a long line of people here to pay their respects. Many of them have American flags raised in the air. Some of them have candles. All of them have heavy hearts. And here you can see the procession coming now, making its way to the Pierce County Medical Examiner's office. A lot of people saluting in the crowd. You can see firefighters lined up across the street, all of them saluting here tonight. A very emotional moment here outside the Pierce County Medical Examiner's office. A lot of the people we talked to said they watched this on the news throughout the evening, and the moment they heard that this officer had passed away, they wanted to be here. They felt they needed to be here to pay their respects. And we are seeing just an incredible show of respect right now on Pacific Avenue here as this procession makes its way. Again, it started at the hospital, headed now to the medical examiner's office. People of all ages, really. There are children in this crowd, people young and old, bundled up tonight. They were not going to be deterred by the cold. They said they had to be here to pay tribute to this man who ultimately died protecting his community here in Tacoma.
Community and the people who knew this officer. Heather, we just spoke to Natalie, and we've been speaking to you both really all night long, and Natalie was able to give us some stories of people from the community who stopped what they were doing, adults, and they wanted to come out, brave the cold temperatures, just to show love, support, and respect for this police department. And I'm just curious, you've been standing there for a while now, and there are a lot of people around you as you're giving your reports. Are there any stories that stick out in your mind? Really powerful stories, maybe messages, conversations that you've heard. What can you tell us?
Well, one thing that has been really interesting to see is that some of these people are in their pajamas. They literally ran out of their houses when they heard this sad news tonight to come here and pay their respects. I talked to one woman, she said she was just crushed when she saw that he had passed away at the hospital, and she just rushed to be here at the medical examiner's office. And we're hearing one story after another about that. And as Natalie was seeing at the hospital, we're seeing the same parents bringing their children here, wanting to make sure their children see this is how you treat a fallen officer. This is how we must respect an officer who dies in the line of duty. It's just really impressive when you take a look at that long line of cars just stretching into the distance here. Car after car after car here now making their way down Pacific Avenue.
And tell me this, Heather, you've been standing there quite some time. Kind of set the table for us, if you will, from maybe when you got there, the amount of people you've seen, the numbers you've seen, and kind of walk us through how you've seen it growing.
Sure. Well, it started small, people trickling in, and over the last hour, the crowd has just continued to grow. And what we're seeing right now is people saluting this procession as it goes by. As I mentioned, some of these people came here tonight with American flags in hand, raising those flags high in the air as this procession goes by. Some of those people came with candles, holding those candles close as the procession makes its way again from the hospital to the Pierce County Medical Examiner's office. And it's quite eerie. I mean, beyond the noise from the fire trucks, it is just so quiet out here as people pay their respects.
And Heather, we have to point out that it is not only quiet, it is very cold out there, and yet people are there and they're not budging. They're going to stay for the entire procession is what it looks like.
Absolutely, and we heard a couple of parents checking on their kids. Are you warm enough? They brought blankets, they brought jackets and gloves and hats. They came here bundled up, but they came here making sure they were going to be here for the duration. They were not going to be deterred by the cold. Wanted to make sure that this long line of people was here saluting as this procession arrived at the medical examiner's office. I mean, I'm looking in the direction of the hospital where this procession started from, and you can just see the cars just stretching and stretching into the distance.
And Heather, from your vantage point, and it might be difficult, but just how many people would you say you've seen standing around you? Are we talking 40, 50? Are we talking 80, 90? I mean, from your vantage point, what can you see?
I'm estimating, of course, but I would say we have at least probably close to 100 people here lining both sides of the roadway, stretching for a couple of blocks here on Pacific Avenue.